Starting.
Oh,
This hangout on air is live.
Yes.
It is good to go.
Oh,
Hooray.
button, I see.
So now I'm going to, you might even be able to tweet about this while I'm doing this. I'm going to play my theme music here.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Yeah, that.
I like this.
That's enough of that. All right. Thank you all for tuning in to another one of my PaulTalks. This week, I am joined by my good Twitter friend and hopefully future YouTube friend.
Yeah. And that's me. I am Brogan. Hello. I am Brogan. My name is Brogan. You may call me Brogan. Like I said, Paul said, we're Twitter friends. Matt stood too close on Twitter. Let's see, giraffepoliceforce.tumblr.com is where a lot of people know me from. And I also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Broganisms, that I have not been posting on very much because, yes, but we're working on that. So hello.
We'll get into that. We're talking to each other. We'll talk about that.
Yes.
I have linked to your Twitter and your YouTube channel in the description, the doobly-doo of this live show. It'll be there after it is saved. I can add your Tumblr as well. You'll just have to remind me what the Tumblr address is at the end of this.
Okay, absolutely.
And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tweet out to everybody that this is a thing that is happening. So I'm just going to do a little Instagramming here. Go ahead and say something, Brogan.
Hi, you should watch this live cast because it's going to be super good. It's going to be so great. You're going to want to tell your children that you were there this day.
That's a good sell, is what that is.
It's true.
I'm going to put it on here. I wonder if Emily Grace is going to tune in. That would be so good.
I would love that because that's kind of how we met.
It is.
Was missing Emily's face, so we had Emily's cardboard face.
Exactly.
Which wasn't as good as actual Emily's face, but it was still very nice.
I mean, it was better than no Emily's face.
That's true.
And I think that I actually talked to you one-on-one for the first time in a bathroom at VidCon as we were talking about Emily Grace's face.
That happens, yeah. I've had some interesting conversations in bathrooms at VidCon. I was in a urinal.
Thing to say out of context.
No, I was once. I was in a urinal next to Shay Carl, and I was like, "Oh, that's Shay Carl," and I just leaned over to him, and I just said, "Hey, like we're the same religion because we are." But I didn't think of like the context of that in a public bathroom. And he looked at me, and then he walked away, and I've never seen him since. So that was. I
am unfamiliar with Shay Carl's and apparently your religion. What is that?
So we're Mormon, actually.
Ah, Church of Latter-day Saints.
Yes, that's it.
Cool, cool. And how receptive was he to learning that you were also Mormon?
I don't really know. We didn't really talk. It wasn't really a two-way conversation.
It's not a good place for talking.
No. He was kind of like, huh, and then he like. And like his kid was there with him, and he like took his kid and he walked off and never really acknowledged me. He might have not even heard me, or I made him feel very uncomfortable. It was one of the two. I'm more careful now with the conversations I start in public restrooms.
I mean, that's a good lesson to learn. It's a good lesson to learn. We are already joined by No More Heroes in their chats. Hi, No More Heroes.
Hello. How are you?
So as you may or may not be aware, in these Google Hangouts, although they can be made public as this one is, there is no way for us as actual interactors in the live show to see the chats from this window. So I have to open up a second window with the front-facing video page in order to see all the chatting.
I might do that.
You can if you want. If your computer has a difficult time processing a lot of things at the same time, I wouldn't recommend it. It does slow you down real fast.
Okay. I think we should be okay. So I'm gonna do that.
Be sure to turn off the sound so that you don't have like a speech jammer challenge in the middle of our live show.
Oh yeah, we get that. Okay. I got We got some people pulled up here. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I also see that Fish the Fish has joined us on time, feeling weird
Fish
about
the
it.
fish. Oh, that is, you gotta, I don't know, being on time's good though. Don't feel weird. Feel good about yourself.
To be fair, we did start like 7 or 8 minutes late, so
Yeah,
whatever.
that was on me, and I apologize. Daylight saving kind of threw me
It screwed
off.
me up. I mean, I've been advertising it wrong. I've been saying 8 p.m. GMT. I should have been saying 8 p.m. British summertime, which I didn't even like. That phrase doesn't even occur to me as a thing.
Yeah, and it's super. Well, my thing too is I keep looking through, and I did like Thailand, but I was typing in Mountain Standard Time when I should have been typing in Mountain Daylight Time,
Mm.
which yeah, not helpful. So I've been all planning, and I'm like, cool. So I'll get home at 1 o'clock, and like I'll have plenty of time,
Whoops.
like get ready and everything, make sure my computer's working, and then yeah.
Oh well. I mean, if you'd wanted to push it back, we could have pushed it back. But
Oh no,
hopefully, I
it's
mean, we actually have to have some. We also have Matt Palka who's joining us in the chat. Hi, Matt Palka. Everybody, Palka.
hello.
And immediately we have a question from No More Heroes. Just wondering, is Brogan from Utah?
I am from Utah.
Well figured out. No More Heroes.
You figured it out. Yeah, I live in South Jordan, up by yeah, I live in South Jordan, which is just like 20 minutes south of Salt Lake.
Okay.
So party. I've lived in the state for most of my life. I lived in Illinois for like 2 months once, and that was about that. So
But you've been to VidCon, so you've been to
oh
California.
yeah.
Where else have you
Yeah.
traveled around?
I've been around quite a bit. My both my parents for work have traveled quite a bit. My dad used to have to travel a lot, and so we'd go around with him occasionally on some of his trips. So I got to see a lot of cool things. Got to spend time in like California, Seattle. Got to go to Washington D.C. when I was pretty young. I was less than a year before 9/11. So I got to do a ton of things that you don't really get to do anymore, like tour the Pentagon and the White House, things like that. So that was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And so there was, yeah, so I used to travel a lot when I was younger because my dad had a job where he would travel and me and my mom would get to go with him sometimes. So that was cool. And I got to go to some places. I got to go to Trinidad and Tobago,
Wow.
which was super, super cool. That was like yeah. So going from like Utah to a completely different culture was especially I was like 7 years old, and it was a really great experience. And yeah, other than that, I've been to a decent amount of the states, and I've been to Trinidad and Tobago and like Canada and Mexico, and that's about it.
That's a hefty amount.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that that's probably more than the average U.S. citizen.
Yeah, I feel okay about it. I feel good.
It's good. No More Hero says it takes a Utah hen to know one. So apparently they are 45 minutes south of Salt Lake City.
Oh my gosh!
Kind
So
of
are
neighbors.
Oh my gosh! So are you in like Provo or area, something then like that?
When No More Heroes hears your question in about a minute and answers,
okay. So
yeah, I had known who you were, not because I was very familiar with your YouTube or internet presence myself, but because Emily Grace would occasionally talk with you and would like do stuff with you on the internets, and I would see that. And then obviously when she wasn't able to make it to VidCon last year, she came up with the idea of doing a scavenger hunt type thing where people would take pictures with people that she had on a list with her face. I added the face. I provided the printout and cardboard copy of her face for everybody to use. And you were obviously high on that list for her. And then we met at VidCon, and then we connected on Twitter, and we've been cool ever since. But I missed your heyday on YouTube.
So yeah, so I started out actually my introduction to YouTube. I was never really familiar with it at all until I had never really familiar with it at all until I had a school assignment. We had to like make a video for a school assignment. We just had to do something to demonstrate it. And we could send like the video file, but the professor's like, it's just easier to just put it on YouTube and send me a link. And I was like, okay. So I made this video. I like borrowed a friend's camera and I made a video to just for the school assignment. And it was basically I wrote a song about like the history of memory when psychology and what we know about it and what we don't know and some of the people involved. And I posted it on YouTube and it got a decent amount of views. And so I like felt pretty good about it. I was like, yeah. And YouTube, because now anyone can monetize anything.
Right.
But at one point, at this point, it was like invitation only. And YouTube emailed me and they're like, hey, this video got a decent amount of views. Do you want to put ads on it and we'll pay you like 3 cents? And I was like, of course I do. So I did that and I was like, I should probably make more of these. And that's when I actually started getting really into YouTube. That's when I started watching people like some of the earliest people I was watching like the Vlog Brothers and Mika Kitty and all these people that like, we're doing YouTube. I'm like, what did people do with this? And I was like, so I want to make more stuff. So I made another video that was some like a boss joke thing. I don't remember. It was like 2011. It was a while ago. And so I got, so I like I made a couple videos and I made this one that I was like super proud of and I put a lot of work into it and it did really well. So it got like my psychology video, which is my first video for school. I put that up and over the course of like 6 months, it got like 1,000 views. Which was like pretty cool. It was super cool. I put up this other one and it gets like 800 like overnight.
What?
And so I feel pretty good about it. And YouTube was like, we think it's really suspicious that the moment we let you start monetizing these, you suddenly are having these other videos that are doing unnaturally well. So you're probably using bots. So we're gonna just not really let you do anything. And so that channel kind of
shut you down.
Yeah. They disabled my AdSense account, so that will be a thing that I won't really be able to do. And yeah, so I was kind of bummed out because I really enjoyed it. So I made a few more, but I was kind of discouraged. So that channel like went away. And then for a while, after a while, I'm like, I really like this, and I should just keep doing it. And I made a lot of really great friends through YouTube and VidCon and things like that. So it's just even something if like that I just wanted to be a part of it. So I made a channel and I put up some videos, and then I moved like 3 times. It was a busy year because I was moving back home with my parents. Because I was taking a break from school because college is
awful.
Yeah. So I was taking a break from school. So I was moving back home with my parents, but they were moving. So I moved back home and then they sold their house. And then we moved into a tiny little apartment while we waited for the other house to be finished. And then we moved there. And so that kind of just threw me off. And I haven't been able to really get back into the swing of things. But I'm doing good. There's a lot of things. I kind of took a break from life for a bit, but I'm doing a lot of stuff now that I haven't done in a while. I started doing stand-up again, which is fantastic. And
like at comedy clubs?
Yes.
Very cool.
That is a thing that I did back in college. And then I left college and I was like in the little college stand-up group. And so once that was there, once I kind of left college, I didn't really have a thing to do that. So I'm doing that again. I've started doing that again like this year. I've started writing again, which is fantastic. I have a friend that does art for like comics and like has done stuff in the industry and everything. So I'm like doing some writing for him, which is cool. Cause that's something like writing with comics is something I've never really done before.
Nice.
And yeah. And so I'm working on some YouTube stuff actually. I say this sometimes and I'm actually not working on it, but I actually am doing some stuff and I've been doing some stuff over the last like 2 weeks and we'll be, so there'll be some things. And also I am going back to school, starting like next month. So
this is too many things, Brogan.
Too many things. And I work in customer service. So that kind of that takes up a lot of my time,
yeah, it does.
Like physically and emotionally. So yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, as I'm absorbing that, I'm gonna go to the chat here and take a look here and see that Matt Palka said he just looked at the footage from VidCon of Emily Grace's face, his pictures, while people held those wooden sticks. And then he was astonished at the bananas response of YouTube to your success.
It was interesting.
That's the whole point of your platform, YouTube. Come on.
I don't know, because it was doing well, but not like that well. So I don't think, I don't really know with that. Like, I don't know. It's not like it went viral, but it was kind of. I guess I could see them being. I don't know. It was weird.
I mean, when was that? When was that 800 video put up?
This was, I want to say, like 2011.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. See, today in 2016, if you put up a video and you got 800 views in a day, that'd be like, finally, you're doing what we want you to do. That's the thing that's supposed to happen.
So,
wow.
Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing No More Heroes is in Spanish Fork. That's super cool. I lived in Provo up until about a little over a year ago, so I was like right by you. So cool, Spanish Utah buddies.
It is always fascinating for me to discover where the people I know from YouTube are actually geographically located, because I kind of feel like everybody is literally right beside me.
Like we live in the internet. Yeah, we live in the internet. That's where we reside. Yeah.
I have told people exactly that statement. I live on the internet.
And that's, well, especially finding out people that like you didn't really realize. So many people live in Canada, and I had no idea. Like, I have a ton of friends who are like, oh, I live in Canada, and that never even occurred to me. Like,
I mean, I can kind of know that from my analytics, but I think people interact with me on Twitter and in YouTube comments in like spurts. So my analytics don't always reflect the reality of who people I'm connected to are. But yes, every time I'll say to somebody, hey, can I meet up with you guys? Or are you going to go VidCon? Or are you going to playlist? Or what have you? I discover probably like 30% of the people I know from YouTube are in Canada. How the heck did that happen?
There's a ton of people in Canada, a ton of people living in LA. I have all these friends that live in LA, and like very few of them actually know each other. And I'm like, you guys.
So my goal is to go to LA and connect all of those people.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to be the social networking hub for all your LA friends.
Hang out with them because I can't.
Well, you can come and visit us.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm going to be there for VidCon.
Excellent.
Soon. So I am super excited about that. Very excited. And No More Heroes. Wait, Canada is a place that, go figure.
I mean, it's at least as much of a place as New Zealand's Middle Earth.
That's true.
And I know only, I think, 1 or 2 people from New Zealand, and I know many people from Canada.
I actually have a lot of family from New Zealand. My grandma immigrated from there.
What?
So I've
You're a Kiwi?
I am. So I've met a ton of people from New Zealand, but most of them are related to me though. Which is, so there's a lot of New Zealand things, New Zealand people I know. Not really things. I don't really know anything about New Zealand.
You just know some people.
But I know some people that live there or did live there and then moved other places. So
is that on your bucket list of places to visit?
I think it is. I want to go. My dad went when he was just like a little kid. And that was one of the only times, like, his mom hasn't really gone back that many times. She came over for school and then got married and then has only been able to go back a few times. But once they went over and took some of the kids, before there was too many, my dad's one of 11 kids. So there was a lot. So when he was younger, so there weren't as many children, because he's one of the oldest. When he was younger, they went over, and I know he's always wanted to go back, and my mom's always wanted to go. So I think one of these days we'll end up taking like a family trip over there, which would be great.
Is Mormonism particularly present in New Zealand?
Kind of. There's some weird. It's not even like it's a super common thing, but there are like some like communities. There's like some Mormon communities there, and like some
Interesting.
Mormon families. My grandma is like, there's like two really kind of snooty, but like families that are kind of the more prestigious. Like lots of people know who they are, and they know that lots of people know who they are. And so then they like got married and had my grandma, and that's
Wow.
so there's like, so it's not, I don't think it's super common, but there's some areas, including like, and like some like families that are, it's kind of a thing. So yeah.
Interesting. Did your family, did those family members come from New Zealand to Utah in pursuit of a larger Mormon community?
I don't know. All I just, my grandma came here for college. I don't think she was intending on staying. I don't know why she came here for college. But she came here for school. I that's about the extent of which I know. I don't know if there's any specific reasoning behind it. As soon as her and my grandpa got married, they moved to Alaska. So I don't necessarily know. Like pretty much immediately. That's where my dad and that's where my dad and a bunch of his siblings were born. My dad lived there until he was like 14 or something. And then they moved back down to Utah. But pretty soon after they got married, they all moved up to Alaska. So
that's funny.
Yeah,
that's like, that sounds like fleeing. That's like fleeing the Church of Latter-day Saints.
As getting as far away from America as you can be while still being in America.
Yeah.
Well, maybe like Guam. I don't know.
Guam is yeah. It's hard for me to remember that Guam is part of America because of the territory, but
there's so many like territories I didn't even know about.
I swear it wasn't until like, I want to say 6 years ago that I learned that Puerto Rico is actually a part of the part of the United States.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there is, I just pulled up a list here. So there's Puerto Rico, there's Guam, there's American Samoa, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Northern Mariana Islands, and there's also several like random islands that we own, but like nobody lives there and we don't really do anything with. And then there are disputed territories between it's looking like us and like Nicaragua, Jamaica, Honduras. So there's some, again, also totally uninhabited little areas. But like Colombia was like, America can have this, and then other countries were like, that wasn't really yours to give away, so maybe that's still ours.
That's a big part of our history, really.
Yeah, that's true. We have a huge knack for taking things that don't belong to us.
I mean, really, I'm not sure if any of our territory is stuff that was legitimately sold to us, honestly, by the actual owners of that land.
At one point, no. Like at one point there was we made an agreement with, I don't remember who it was, for this huge chunk of land that was technically owned by Mexico, and we just took it. And that's like Utah and most of like the West Coast, like a lot of that, Utah, California, like a lot of that was Mexico.
Oh yeah.
And we like bought it from someone else.
That's why people along that southern border of the United States will oftentimes say, I didn't cross the border crossed us.
Yep.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about geography. This is a funny tangent to get into. So how did you, because our commonality is Emily Gray, it's going to go back to her again. How did you meet up with her for the first time?
So, first time we ever met was Secret Show. I don't know if you're familiar with Secret Show.
At VidCon, yeah.
At VidCon, yeah. If you guys,
area.
Yeah, if you guys are going to be at VidCon, you don't know Secret Show, you need to check it out. It's some fantastic stuff. There's like super cool people performing, and you get to see some like super cool things. Like people will like premiere songs there. If you know Hannah Miraz, she's like played new stuff there that hasn't been on any albums. John Cozart played last year, and he played a song that was not released on YouTube until this week.
Yeah, I just saw that song.
So if you've seen the YouTube culture song that John Cozart Paint just put out, he played that. He played that almost a year ago. He played that back in July. So you get to see cool stuff before everyone else, and there's just super great things. Anyways, I met Emily at Secret Show, and because she performed at Secret Show, and I knew about Secret Show from my friends Catherine and Andrew Streeter, who I met in a super weird way. We met in like a Nerdfighter, like a local Nerdfighter group. And then I, at that point, realized that I had like downloaded I had like bought Andrew's EP and had been listening to it for a while. I just stumbled across it one day and liked it. And then I'm like, that's super weird. So I was talking to Catherine. I'm like, I haven't been listening to your husband's music. And then one day she pulled up her YouTube channel, and I was like, wait, I've been subscribed to your YouTube channel for like over a year. So I met them on the internet without realizing that I already knew them from the internet. But they lived in Provo. They live in Provo while I was living in Provo. And so they have performed at Secret Show multiple times. And so they told me about it, introduced me to Hannah, who's the one that organizes everything. And so I met Emily through Secret Show. They performed there, and it was fantastic, and it was great. And I was like, we should be friends, and they were like, okay. So yes, so that is how we met. And then they were not there last year, and it was a bummer. It was kind of bummed me out, but I gotta take a picture with their face on a stick. So that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. That's awesome. Yeah, so if you are not familiar with Emily Grace, their Twitter handle is @twirlyenough, TWIRLYENOUGH. Their YouTube channel is On My Way to Hogwarts, I believe, which is spelled the way it sounds. And they put up vlogs about gender identity and the songs that they cover and college life and being cool.
They're seriously super great. I want to see if I can find. They've had some videos that are like so good, and I want to see if I can find some of my favorites and like put them in here. Basically, they're super cool. You should check them out. They're fantastic, and they brought me and Paul together. Yay!
Yes, that worked out really well. But I mean, it's nice. I think that just because you and I both talk about YouTube stuff, VidGun stuff, and then comic book stuff and TV stuff and LGBT plus issues, I think our paths would have crossed eventually anyway.
Yes, which is the nice thing. Sometimes I meet people through the internet, and it's like we inevitably would have met, and so it was just a matter of time. And that's always nice. Kind of one of those like almost meant to be. So
it worked out well. How have your interests played into the kind of people that you meet on the internet?
Well, one thing, the internet makes it, people are kind of able to, you're kind of able to tell kind of who people are before you decide like what sort of relationship you want to pursue with them, which is fantastic. I can see someone and look at them and be like, okay, I can see that and I can kind of observe them for a bit before I decide to be like, okay, this is a person that is obviously super great. And you can't do that like in real life. Sometimes you meet people.
Now without possibly incurring restraining orders.
That's true, and so don't stalk people. But like, it's like you can like meet people in real life, and you're like, oh, they seem nice, and then after like a week, you're like terrified, and you're like, oh, there's all these things I didn't know. So I think one thing with the internet that I really like and who I decide to like meet and interact with on the internet is being able to kind of choose like who I don't meet and interact with on the internet. So I can kind of filter out the people that are the bad ones. Like if you pull up someone's like Twitter and it's like their description is like #Trump 2016, it's like kind of like, okay, like I'm probably not gonna be friends with you so we're just going to skip that. And so it's great. And then you can find, and also you have people making cool things, like you have people that are making just videos and music and words, and it's fantastic. And being able to seek out, like, see people that are making things that are things that you're interested in. They're making it because they're passionate about it, and you know that they're passionate about it. And being able to find people that are like, oh wow, you're really passionate about this thing that I am also passionate about. That is fantastic, and it's super great. I really like it, and also being able to talk to people. Being able to talk to people about things that I might not necessarily like. You can find people that are dealing with similar experiences with you, that you wouldn't necessarily have that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do if you're just talking to people off the street. Alexandria Taylor, 23 of Me on Twitter. She's doing a disabilities on YouTube panel at VidCon, which is going to be so cool, and I'm so excited for that.
It is awesome. I feel like I know like 3 or 4 of the people on the panel too, so I'm pretty excited.
It's gonna be fantastic, and so I'm super excited just with things like that, and I like stuff being able to talk to her about it. That's kind of how when she was kind of putting together the disabilities on YouTube, that is something that is relevant to me. That is something that is relevant to me being disabled, and it's not something that you can necessarily just like find people to talk about all the time. So the internet is helpful, because I can't just like, it's like, I can just like see people on the street and be like, you have a cane, I have a cane, let's talk about it. But there's not necessarily that finesse of like, oh, this is obvious, this is actually like a relevant conversation and the thing that we can talk about and kind of learn together and from each other. And so that's great.
Matt Palka chimes in from the chats to say that Allie Johnson is fantastic. Agreed. Oh, like Kristen has popped in to say hi. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Kristen. Hello.
She has a mental health channel, which is just fantastic. And her Twitter is at AskLikeKristen. Highly recommend her channel because it's so positive and uplifting, and also educational and supportive and interactive. Gives you lots of activities to help you work through some mental health issues.
Yes, like Kristen. Paul tweeted you tweeted one of her videos recently, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay, I saw that. I watched it, and it was fantastic. And I have been wanting to check out the channel more. So that is great.
Excellent. Hooray! I have brought people together.
Yes, the internet, magical. It is magical.
It is really great. I like the fact that you bring up the how just because you can see somebody offline in the meet space, as Mike Rignetta might say, who might be similar to you, doesn't mean you can just go up to them and have a conversation about your potential similarities.
Yeah.
But on the internet, I think because we can choose to share what we want to share, we're basically saying, because I'm sharing this is a thing about which I would like to interact with you.
Yeah.
So like when I brought up some of my mental health issues, I bring them up not just to like drop the information and then walk away from it. I bring it up because I want to say to people, hey, we have this in common. It's okay if we talk about this. It's okay for us to like ring true together on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something, especially Tumblr, because I talk about, I not as much lately, but I used to talk about mental health quite a bit on Tumblr. And that is something just like being able to talk about things, and people can like message you and be like, hey, what about this? And if you can't really handle talking about it right then, like it's something where it's really easy to just be like, hey, like not really feeling great right now, but I'd love to have this conversation later, and then returning to it at a point when you are more comfortable with it. And you can't really just pause in like a regular, like real life conversation. If someone starts talking about something and you feel uncomfortable, it's more difficult to just be like, hey, can we come back to this maybe tomorrow?
I feel like there's there's a sitcom episode where somebody would literally say, okay, we're going to put a pin in that. We're going to put a pin in that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come back to it later. And it sounded so obnoxious, but I swear I myself have wanted to do that.
Yeah. So...
Kristen in the chat says, sometimes it's awkward when my friends IRL talk to me about my videos, but I encourage it. The more we talk about our own mental health online, the more awareness we can spread.
Absolutely.
And reduce stigma. I hate the stigma around it.
Yes. Yes, that is especially, and another one of the reasons, because like I said, I used to talk all the time about my mental health, my experiences with mental illness on Tumblr. I don't do that as much anymore because it's not as I don't know, it used to be kind of like a safe space, and as I grew more of an audience on Tumblr, that's probably my largest audience is on that site. And going through that, now that it's kind of grown, there are people that aren't really as aware, and there is that stigma. So I'll get messages and be like, "Oh, if you really were dealing with this, you would have been in a hospital." And I'm like, one, that's not necessarily true. Two, you don't necessarily know that I haven't. So the stigma is a huge deal. The fish says, I tend to drop jokes in conversation so that it's out there, but I don't have to make it a whole conversation. I do that quite a bit. I have done that quite a bit. That is a pretty good, because especially jokes are powerful. I feel like you can make people think with a joke in ways that you wouldn't necessarily be able to with just a serious conversation. And you can also kind of diffuse tension with a joke in a way that you might not be able to. So that is something that I totally agree with. I do that quite a bit with a lot of things, both with mental health, disability, being bisexual. Also, I was attending a very conservative religious university for a while, and it was very difficult. And there's lots of homophobia, and nobody really even believes that bisexuals exist. And it was just super when people were having, people would start going off on tangents that were very negative and hurtful, and just saying something like, "Oh, yeah, I'm attracted to guys, and it's nothing like that." And just walking away, that can
nice.
Maybe even not change someone's mind, but kind of get them to at least think before they talk.
I respect that a lot. I mean, it's definitely the case when people are raised with isolated in an isolated type of community without as many diverse viewpoints and perspectives around them, or at least that they're aware of. They tend to think, well, this person who I'm making fun of, who is homosexual or bisexual, this person who has this particular type of gender identity that I'm going to make fun of, I can do that safely because I know that no one around me is like that. When in fact, everybody's gay. There are so many people around all of us.
It's true.
Who are not straight, who are not cis, who do not have a gender identity that's on the binary. They all over the place, but people think that they're rare, mostly because they keep on perpetuating that foolish idea.
Yeah, I think we like to put people in a box. And it makes it easier, and you don't have to really think about it, but we should think about it. And we should think people are so just complex and fantastic, and we don't realize things like how common not being straight is, and how common mental illness is, and gender identity, things like that. It's something that people just don't know. And they don't even really think about it. And I think a lot of times we don't want to think about it because it's complicated. But I feel like we should talk about complicated things because people are complicated, but it is kind of like we are complicated, and that is kind of beautiful. That is so cool. And how just different and vast people are I think it's fantastic. And I think it does make life more difficult as far as just looking at it and analyzing it and everything. But so I think we should talk about it and not put people in a box. Don't put people in boxes. You got to poke air holes so they can breathe, and it's just hot and sweaty, and yeah.
And those boxes don't fit everybody.
No. No.
Looking back on how I was raised, 30 years ago when I was a kid, I was definitely taught by all the materials and people presented to me that there was a normal. And the normal was like white people who were boys or girls, who were straight, who had nuclear families and were Christian. Like that was the normal that was presented to me, even though I didn't even grow up as a kid in the United States, but I was on a United States Army bases, like in Korea. And that was still what was presented to me as normal, even though I could literally look around and I would see, hey, I'm in, first of all, Korea. And second of all, I'm surrounded by all these kids who are also parts of military families who were like the colors of Benetton, freaking all sorts of racial representation because they were all in the military, and that's what it looks like in the military. Lots of different colors, lots of different backgrounds. And so the fact that, so there's like this disconnect, there's this dissonance between what I was being taught as this is the way of the world, this is quote unquote normal, and what I could literally see around me constantly. And it wasn't until I got to the United States and then I settled into Maryland where I realized, hey, in these little neighborhoods of Maryland, they really do just see one type of person mostly around them, at least on the surface. And so that's what they think is the normal. Like if I had grown up not being exposed to a variety of cultures and peoples because I was a military brat, maybe I would have grown up with those ideas instilled in me instead of just like being confused by the lessons.
Yeah. And that was, well, especially, so like I've lived in Utah most of my life, and Utah it's not that diverse. But I was fortunate. I grew up in a town. I grew up, not even really a town. It's too small to be a town. It's a township. I grew up in a township that was pretty diverse, which was nice. There was still like 50% white people, but there's also like 50% people like aren't white, which was fantastic. And we had more religious diversity than you would probably find in Utah. But I still realized that kind of, even with all of that, I was still kind of taught to be like, kind of like white is normal. So I don't know. So it is something that is taught, and it is very harmful. And unlearning that is something that I try very hard with, but will still probably be doing for the rest of my life to some extent or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's things, and especially like we don't really talk to kids about things, which can be, I feel like we should, because we also for not only for realizing that like just because someone is different from you, that doesn't mean that they're not normal, but also realizing because sometimes things happen that kids are experiencing that they don't realize is something that other people go through because we just don't talk about it. And especially dealing with things like mental illness and gender identity, sexual orientation. I didn't even know that like bisexual was a thing until I was like 20, before I even like heard that word. And I was so confused. Because I'm like,
now, were you confused because you thought that you were gay, or because you thought you were straight, or?
Well, both. Well, it started out, I just assumed that everyone was bisexual, essentially. I just assumed because
without the word for it.
Yeah, because I just assumed that everyone like was attracted to guys and girls, and that like, straight people like dated, like a straight guy would date girls and a gay guy would date guys. And basically like I just assumed that like your sexual orientation, like straight or gay, was dependent on like who you happen to be dating. And I didn't realize that was a thing until I was 14 years old. There's this kid in my neighborhood, his name was Tanner, and I was over at his house, and he was talking to my friend Jamie, and he's like, you ever thought about who you would be attracted to if you were like, have you ever thought about who you would be attracted to if you were like the opposite gender? And I was like, wait, what? Because I'm like, I totally like, there was guys that I totally like, in hindsight, totally like had a crush on, but like there's guys that I was attracted to and I never really thought about it because I just thought that was normal. And then so I was like 14 and I realized like this isn't what everyone's going through. And then I had several years of just confusion. I had several years of confusion because I was like, okay, like, am I gay? But I don't think I'm gay because I know that I like girls. Like, so I was super confused. I'm like, what is going on? And then years later, someone is like, I was literally, I can tell you, I was sitting in a class and someone's like, I don't think bisexuals are real. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but that sounds like something that's real. And that makes a lot of sense. So
and then the light breaks.
Yeah, thank you, Biphobia, for helping me come to terms with myself.
That's interesting. The phobia of the thing, the attempted erasure of the thing is what brought the thing to your attention.
So that was the thing. People were just like, I don't believe this is real. And I'm like, I've never heard of that thing that you're saying doesn't exist, but it makes sense to me. Like, is that what I think it would be from what it sounds like? And I'm like, I'm gonna look this up. And I was like, wait, oh my gosh, this makes sense.
It's weird. It's weird that in our lifetimes, I mean, we're not the same generation, we're pretty close, but it's weird that in our lifetimes, bisexuality and pansexuality have been more erased than they have been historically. Like in Victorian era, in Edwardian era, certainly in ancient Greece, these were norms.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only since since the United States decided to become super conservative and ruin everything, that bisexuality has been dismissed as false and erased.
And it's super interesting because it's like, and there's a weird stigma, like, which is super weird. Like there's this weird stigma, and there's the whole like at the same time, like people just assume that like bisexuals are just like either in denial or like needy and just super horny, which is weird because I'm a huge prude, right? Like I'm a huge prude.
You are.
People are, thank you. So like people come in, so people just like find out, and I've had relationships end. I had a relationship, not the person that I'm with now, but the person before that. The relationship ended because they found out I was bisexual, and just like assumed that I like essentially it wouldn't be enough. Like one relationship wouldn't be enough, and I'm just like, what? Like,
I mean, that they certainly, well, that sucks. That was awful. They are certainly not the only person who conflates sexual attraction with monogamy versus polygamy mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not the same thing. Like the number of people that you are attracted to is not directly connected to the type of people you are attracted to.
No,
different things.
So
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second and go to the chats because we got a couple of them piling up here. Articulations. Betty joins us. Hi.
Hello.
And says bisexual is a complex term because it at the same time brings needed attention to an invisible group, but also paints a broad stroke that generalizes a lot of diverse experiences. And that is a sort of eloquence, which is why I really like Betty's channel. You should check out Articulations if you haven't yet. Articulations. Fish the Fish says, when people say that being gay is a choice, I just feel like they are actually kind of bi and choosing to just live straight because they don't know that it's okay. I mean, that is a possibility, but be wary of putting that identity on people. It's possible, but it's not necessarily the case. Some people just don't understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it can be both.
Alan says, what Alan says, joined us in the chat.
Hello, Alan. I met Alan in a bouncy house, and we are now great friends.
What? That is an awesome way to meet somebody.
We met at a bouncy house, not last VidCon, but 2 VidCons previously, at the little pre-party. And I was in there with my friends Sarah and Mimi that I just met, and then he came in there, and then we all, like, the group of us went to VidCon prom together, and it was super great. And so he's a super fantastic person.
That's
and I
awesome.
love him. Check him out.
He's somewhat local to me, so we're kind of in the same like YouTuber area right now in near DC, not really close, but near DC. Anyway, Alan says, how I love talking about bi erasure and biphobia. Yeah, these are topics that Alan likes to rant about, along with the rest of us. And then also says, meeting Brogan was honestly top 10 happiest times. Aww.
My heart. You've touched my heart.
Polka dots. Matt Polka says, people can fear the stigma and backlash about bisexuality, so they don't open up. Again, that's a possibility. It's definitely the case. But some people really are just gay and don't understand. Some people really are just straight and don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
These are all possible scenarios.
Yeah, and it's also not this is really, because again we're talking about like hypotheticals. You have it's also, I think you get close to the people that are like, oh well, homophobes are really just gay. And I feel like that is a dangerous mindset to get into, because one, a lot of times that's used to like attack people that are homophobic by kind of implying they're homosexual, which I feel like is not necessarily a positive thing to do. We kind of want to make this seem like a thing that isn't bad, but also sometimes people are just really just gross and hateful, and I think we have to watch out for that as well.
Yeah, it's generally speaking, if people tell you that they are the sort of people who are blank, your best bet is to believe them until proven otherwise. Yep. Some people are going to say, hey, I am a conservative jerk who hates homosexual people. If someone tells you that, believe them.
They're probably right. Yeah.
At least mostly.
Usually.
In the chat, Articulation says, it's amazing the amount of people who think bisexual means you want to have sex with two people at the same time. Lol. I mean, you're right.
It's true. It's true.
And it's because, and I think it's more likely that the people who think bisexuality means that you can't be satisfied by being in a relationship with one person at a time are the people who are so within their narrow mindset of being attracted to one gender of person at a time that they can't understand how to live life in any other way, how to feel other feelings besides that narrow definition of attraction. And so if you say to them, hey, you could also be attracted to these other type of people, then they think, well, wait a minute, then that breaks my brain and I have to act a completely different way.
Yep. That's, I don't know. And again, it's so weird to me because this is kind of what I've always kind of lived with. Like, it's kind of something that I've never really had to imagine anything otherwise. So it's weird to me just imagining being, it's weird to me just imagining being only attracted to one gender. And with how confusing that is to me, I can't imagine how confusing it is to some other people. To imagine like bisexuality, pansexuality, and so
that's not even crossing the line over into discussing romantic attraction versus sexual attraction.
Oh yes,
that's another wrinkle in the whole.
Which is very interesting because that doesn't match up all of the time. A lot of the times it does, but you have people that are only attracted to, you have people that like sexually are like heterosexual, but could be like biromantic. And you have people that could be bisexual, but heteroromantic. It's very,
there's the recent thing about, was it James Franco who said that he's gay, but he doesn't want to have sex with men. I think that's who it was, but a lot of people reacted by turning their nose up and saying, James Franco, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 just looking for attention. And that might be the case, but it might also be the case that he's trying to describe something without understanding all the possible vocabulary. He might be trying to say that he is biromantic, but only heterosexually attracted to people. That's what he might be trying to say, or he might be full of shit. I don't know. But you can't just dismiss what a person says about their identity and attractions just because it's not described in a way that makes sense to you, they may be trying to figure it out themselves too.
Yeah.
Matt asks, do you think a huge problem is all or nothing thinking?
Yes. I think that is a problem with
always the enemy.
Yeah. I think the moment, and not even just with sexual orientation, I think with everything. The moment you kind of get into all or nothing thinking, that can be very just kind of, that can be very harmful, and you don't want to do that if you can avoid it. Give people the opportunity to kind of establish themselves, rather than thinking that they must be one thing because of something else.
Yep. Betty Articulations says, I was talking to a gay guy recently who thought that all lesbians must be butch. Yeah. I mean, that's an age-old stereotype that's just not even close to true. And then also says, it's hard enough for many of us to come to terms with our own sexuality, let alone try to judge other people's sexualities.
Yes, that is very true. Very good point. Because that's the thing with myself is like, it's hard to wrap my head around. Some days I'm like right in the middle, and I'm like, I'm pretty, and then some days I'm like dudes, and then some days I'm like over here. Like it changes.
It does. I think both Gabby Dunn and Eliel Cruz have both talked about how being bisexual doesn't mean you're 50-50. It doesn't mean that you're any particular ratio. It just means that you have the potential to be attracted to people across genders.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be 50-50, but however you're looking at it on any of the spectrums.
Yeah. Alan had a question on here too. I want to get back over to do you think entertainment and media has helped paint the picture of I'm homophobic, so I'm really gay and angry at myself?
Glee did.
I think it does happen, yes. I think in a lot of ways, I think it is getting better, but I think in a lot of ways, the media still does not really know how to talk about. The media, I don't think, is entirely comfortable talking about anything other than straight at this point. It's still a pretty new thing. For a long time, it was not something that was allowed, and in many ways, it is still restricted in how we can talk about it. But so I think it is something the media, I think they have in a way kind of painted the I'm homophobic, so I'm really gay and upset with myself. But I feel like also as well, a lot of the ways that they kind of approach, I don't think that that's necessarily, I think that's them trying to do a positive thing. That might not necessarily be the best planned out. I think the media is still learning. I think it has improved somewhat, but yeah, there's a lot of issues with how the media talks about things that I think need to be improved on, and there's some things that just don't get talked about. Gender identity is still something that is very rarely discussed, that I would like to see talked about more, because that is something that could use. That is something that could use a lot of help.
Yeah, one of the things I'm really looking forward to at VidCon, I hope that I can fit into my schedule, however, whenever they release the schedule, is I believe that Milo Stewart is going to be on a panel about gender identity. And Milo is great because he frequently talks about how his gender identity is effed up compared to anything in the norm. Like he's trans, but he sometimes will use they or kit pronouns. Their gender, his gender expression often is feminine, but it doesn't have to be. Yep. So he's all over the place, which is great because Milo's awesome. I like everything about Milo. But I really want to hear how he interacts with everybody else who's going to be on that gender panel, if I'm remembering that correctly. I think I am.
Yeah. Absolutely. That would be fantastic. And that's the thing. There's so many, and I really like with VidCon how they've split it up with how they have like the community creator track and everything. I don't know, 2 years ago, I don't know how many people here have been to VidCon or were specifically there 2 years ago, but it was so busy panel wise, and with everything that was going, and you didn't, they would have more specific panels, but there were people that were wanting to go to talk to certain creators, which is fantastic. But when everything would fill up, and I think I made it into one panel the entire VidCon, maybe not even that. And last year with the creator track, the people that are there wanting to meet people and like interact with these creators that they're fans of have the opportunity to do that, which is fantastic. But we also get opportunities for the we also have the opportunities to have the more specific panels, like talking about gender identity. There was last year, and I'm pretty sure they're doing this year as well, there was a mental illness on YouTube panel that was fantastic. I think Connor Manning was one who put it together, and he did an excellent job, both in kind of who he picked. He picked good speakers, but he also picked a good variety of speakers that from all aspects of mental illness. So you didn't just have people dealing with like depression, anxiety. You had people dealing with addiction. You had people dealing with PTSD,
Eating disorder.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. And seeing, and so the fact that we're getting panels like disabilities on YouTube, and dealing with gender identity, like that is so great. And I am so excited. It's going to be so rad.
I'm also very excited about it. If you'd like to check out that mental health workshop / panel that Connor Manning put together, there's a video of it in my VidCon 2015 playlist on my channel. I was there like in the first row, and I was holding up my little video camera to record the whole thing. It was really excellent. I hope they are having it again.
Yes, it's fantastic. VidCon is just a great place. If you have the opportunity to go, I know lots of people don't have that opportunity, but if you do have the opportunity, I would highly encourage it.
It's a funny thing about VidCon. One of the things that I like that they're doing more and more of is helping to elevate marginalized voices. Fantastic. But one vector of marginalization is class and economic privilege.
Yep.
And as long as VidCon is expensive and is in California only, it is inaccessible to people who do not have time and money.
That is very true. It is, and I know it is very difficult. And and that is the thing, because they do work really hard. They do work really hard to get all sorts of people involved. I've seen that, and I think they've made. I think each year they're trying to do more and more and more. But again, it's the same thing. You have to afford to be able to go.
Yeah. So which is why I've been puzzled. I've gone 2 years. So I was at VidCon 2014, VidCon 2015. I'm going again this year, and each year that I've been baffled that there isn't essentially like a live streaming that becomes archived video functionality for every panel. Like why not? Like that should be like just something built into the budgeting of VidCon.
And they have VidCon. It is, and they have some panels they will record and put up, and some things they will.
Last year's main panels were all put up.
Yeah.
Main stage.
So I think they have been working on it, but it is something. It would be very easy to record and post every single panel. And I know some people have made a very concentrated effort to record those panels and make those accessible. I know you've done that, which is fantastic. But yeah, it will be very easy to have a live stream set up and make that accessible. And I'm not sure. I know they're doing it sometimes, but there's still a lot more that could be done with that. And I'm hoping that does happen, because like you said, as long as it is as expensive, and as far as conventions go, it's not the most expensive, but it is still expensive. A ticket is still going to cost you. If you get in very early, it's still going to cost you like $100.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I also combined it with the location, because it's in California, because it's at the Anaheim Convention Center. you know, most people don't live. Most people in the world do not live in Anaheim, so they're gonna have to get like a hotel room or something. They're gonna pay for food.
You have to figure transportation.
Transportation's a big deal.
And
so all these monetary factors go into making it for the average attendee. I'm gonna say it's probably about $1,000.
So yeah, that's probably around the same for me. Yeah, just getting out there, transportation. My first VidCon was able to go with a bunch of people locally, and I was able to go with a bunch of people locally, and they had and so we all drove together, and so we had like 6 people in this tiny car, and so we shared on gas, and that was relatively cheap. But since then, those people are either like in graduate school or have gotten married and are now having to like provide for families and everything. And so I've had to fly out since then, and that can be very expensive.
I'm hoping, knock on wood, that I'll have all my ducks in a row in California by June, so that I can just drive from wherever I'm living to Anaheim for the event. I'm still going to get a hotel room at the convention, because it's just not practical to commute to there from anywhere else. But
I know some people did that though. I had friends from like the LA area that did come up and just get a hotel room, but I know some people, I know Brizzy Voices just drove home and back every day, which is
I've done that. I've done that for other events besides VidCon, events around the DC area. I've done that, but there's something about the experience of being there, like into the dead of practically till dawn, interacting with other people is I think a significant part of the experience. It's fine. I understand if you just can't afford it or for time or money purposes, but it is a non-trivial aspect of the VidCon experience to just be there 24/7 for the event.
Yep. And it's, well, especially too, because like you said, sometimes till dawn, like it's an exhausting experience, because you will sometimes be there. You will sometimes be very late. You will be you'll be very late. You'll be very involved. You'll be interacting with a lot of people, which if you are an introverted person like I am, that can take a lot out of you.
This is another reason why it's very important for me to have a hotel room at VidCon, so that I can hide.
Yep. So, and that says, and Alan is commenting, said that basically he's going to be sleeping with several people in one hotel room. That's what I did last time. We had a hotel room for 2 people. We had 2 keys. We had 8 people in there, but we got the price down. That helps with the price. But
yeah, if I don't figure out a good means of getting a paycheck in California, then 2017's VidCon might see me like camping on a hillside near Anaheim Convention Center,
just hanging out.
Like I think Chloe Rose, Green Julius on Twitter, I think Chloe Rose might be not getting a VidCon pass and not staying at VidCon, but staying near VidCon, coming down from Las Vegas for the event.
Which I know a lot of people that have done that and still have had a great time. And there are still activities that you can be involved with. There's still things there that you can do, and things that are going on that you don't need a pass for. I know Secret Show last year, Catherine and Andrew Streeter, they have a child, and his name is Milo, and he's adorable. But they had their VidCon pass, and they decided that instead to be able to afford what they really wanted to do was they refunded their VidCon pass and then went to Disneyland.
Nice.
Because they would have been able and had a fantastic time, and they still did Secret Show. That's another Secret Show plug. If you don't have a VidCon pass, but you happen to be in Anaheim, you can still attend Secret Show. So there are plenty of things that you can do, and still plenty of people to meet. and plenty of delicious food trucks. There's like some really great food at VidCon, so
it's not so great for me as a vegetarian, most time vegans. It's not as easy. Not as easy.
Yeah, that would be a little more challenging. There's some, yeah, that's a little more challenging.
In the chat, we had This Is Ewan said it costs about £3,000 to get to VidCon for a week because Scotland is so far away.
Wow.
That's rough. That is rough. I don't even know the exchange rate, but 3,000 sounds like it's gonna be a lot of money. And then Rachel Ann Pierce joins us in the chat. Hi, Rachel, and says that I've stayed down there the times I've gone and hope to again, but haven't figured out a hotel yet. I might stay at the Disney campsite nearby. That's a cool idea.
That is fantastic. Polka Dots is talking about the grilled mac and rib. Let me just talk to you about the grilled mac and rib. This is incredible. If you are vegan or vegetarian, then this will not appeal to you, and I am sorry. But imagine a mac and cheese. Imagine a grilled cheese sandwich with mac and cheese and rib. And it's incredible. It was there 2 years ago as a food truck. Last year they just had a little tent set up, and it's fantastic. So I'm seeing it talked about in the comics, and I just take a moment to talk about it because it's great.
Well, great. There was a vegan wrap that I could eat.
So that's nice. Was it a good vegan wrap?
It was okay.
Sometimes there are incredible like vegan and vegetarian options, and then sometimes there is nothing.
Yeah.
So
that's a little bit hit or miss. Fortunately, I can't remember what's the name of the hotel where all the actual YouTube celebrities stay?
It's the one right there. Is it the Hilton?
I think it's the Hilton. In the ground level of that, kind of near the convention center, there are a bunch of little restaurants on like a little miniature food court.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all those restaurants had food that I could get as a vegan. Mostly I just ate a lot of sandwiches full of avocado, which is fine for me. I like that.
Yeah.
Rachel asks, what's Secret Show?
Secret Show is something put on by Amara. I'm gonna put up just a link to her Twitter here. She's actually she's at I can so do random on Twitter. She has it's basically a thing she started putting together back when the open mic. The open mic is now much more accessible, but for a while it was very difficult to get into. Not a lot of people got to perform, and so she wanted to essentially see more YouTube musicians highlighted. And you have just some great people there. She's played every year. She's actually not going to be there this year. She's going to be in Europe. So, but the show's still going to go on. We've talked about it. I don't know exactly how or who exactly is going to be involved in it. But her, Catherine Andrews Streeter, like I talked about, Emily Grace, we were talking about before, Robert Borden, some really great people have played there. And it's getting changing every year. We had the Playgrounders there last year, which was a great show. John Cozart is playing, so like we're getting some. It just started out as kind of like a group of small YouTubers, and it's gotten bigger, and we've gotten some great people. And it's so it's at VidCon. It was on the little grassy knoll, and then they replaced it with a parking lot. So
the grassy knoll, not the Secret Show.
Yeah, so they replaced the little area we had it on with the parking lot. So it's a little grass outside of just the main stage, and there will be more details. There will be more details as we get closer to that.
How can people find out those details? Like every year at the VidCon, I've just happened to like be friends with someone who tweets about the Secret Show.
So what we put it together. It's like I said, Hannah. I'm going to link to Hannah's Twitter in the comments. It's twitter.com/I-can-so-do-random. Okay, I'm actually, it doesn't like me sending links, so I'm just gonna, there we go. I just put her handle in Twitter.
There you go.
You can check her out. She's not going to be there, but I know that we're still going to be doing it to some extent. If you want to follow her on Twitter, there should be updates there. I should also be posting updates on my Twitter as we get closer and kind of know what's going on, because that is, yes, it's fantastic. And just a great place to meet people and have fun and see cool things. Polka Dot says, remember to breathe. Yes, I realized after talking that I was going a little quick there.
He might have also been consoling what Alan says because he's planning on staying in the Hilton.
Oh, yes. So, and the Hilton, it was another thing I was really impressed with VidCon last year with the Hilton is the level of security that they had for creators.
Definitely fixed it from the previous year.
It used to be quite a problem. People would find out where someone was staying and would camp outside their hotel room. Lots of just huge invasions of privacy. And they essentially, what they do now, they rent out an entire floor of the hotel, and there's security, so you can't go unless you're like a featured guest. Mm-hmm. Or you are with someone that is a featured guest. You can't even go on that floor of the hotel, which is huge improvement. Huge improvement.
I don't think it happened last year, but it definitely happened the year before, VidCon 2014. The hotel where I was staying, people were trying to sneak past security by getting into the hotel room, finding one of the stairwells, and just chucking up the stairwells until they got to a floor where they thought someone might be staying, and then just running up and down the halls looking for someone that they recognized. It was bad news bears, is what that was.
It was bad. No, I know last year I had some friends that were guests that I was hanging out with, and that whole floor there's guards at every elevator, every stairwell. You do not have the featured pass. You can't even, and it wasn't even like a thing. People, even where they know, like the security guards, if they knew someone and have been talking to them, seeing them the whole event, even people that they know, like if you didn't have that pass, to be like, go get your pass. Like they'd escort you if you're like, oh, I left it in my room. They'd escort you to their room and you can get the pass. And if you didn't, they would have you leave. So I know they've really stepped up security with that, and which is fantastic. I think there's a lot of there was a lot of problems, and it's not really fair at all to creators. I know that was a huge. There's a lot of problems going on, and I know a lot of creators felt violated.
Yeah, they felt afraid. They felt afraid for their safety and their privacy.
Absolutely, and talking, and just getting that improved, making sure that people feel, because everyone there deserves to feel safe, from the fans to creators. And I also know as well they've been doing really well with people even like trying to crash VidCon. Last year, Sam Pepper showed up. I
saw all the tweets about that.
Yeah, so he's banned from the con, and so he's not allowed to attend. But he just showed up and was at the hotel, and I think might have even had gotten a room at the hotel, and they had him escorted out pretty much immediately as soon as he got there.
I was confused.
He was not happy.
Like, I thought it was a joke from some of my friends because some of them were like tweeting photos of like a burning trash can, like literally a burning trash can, and saying, "Oh, Sam Pepper's here at VidCon." So that, it's just a funny joke. And then I found out that he actually was there and was escorted out.
Yep. So they've done a lot of. So I think VidCon, and again, there's still a lot of improvements that should be made, and a lot of things that I think should be talked about and changed. But they work really hard to make sure that it's a safe place.
Yes, I was like, the first year I was at VidCon, I was skeptical that the Vlogbrothers and the staff of VidCon peoples we're paying attention to the concerns of the creator safety and the small creators who were not necessarily big names, but we're still having issues just dealing with like getting the panels and stuff. But sure enough, from one year to the next, drastic improvement, great changes, positive stuff. In the chats, Rachel says, I spend so much time in the convention, I don't even know about other stuff. I'm going to point out to you, Rachel, that I believe I did see you at the one-time story circle at Leslie Datz's story circle. So you went to that. That was a thing that was not in the convention center.
That's true. Yeah, and there's a lot of just unofficial things like that, and like meetups and just fantastic things where like there wasn't a panel, and so they're like, we're going to do this ourselves.
Yes.
And
they also tried something brand new last year, which was to try to do something that they called workshops, but they didn't really. The VidCon staff's vision for workshops and the panelists' execution of workshops, in most cases, didn't exactly line up because not everybody understood what that was supposed to entail. It was different from just a panel. The women on YouTube workshops, they actually like workshopped it. They like broke down into small circles. They had the YouTube creators who are panelists interacting with the attendees. That was very cool. I think they're going to be doing more of those things this year because they've learned from some of the mistakes, some of the slight stumbles from last year, which is like, I mean, that's the kind of progression that I want to see in an event that I'm attending. I want to see it get better every year.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's nice knowing that there's people behind it that are dedicated to making a safe place, which is good.
Lauren Chernikowski works her butt off to make VidCon good, and she just does so much behind the scenes. It's amazing.
Yes, there's a lot of people that work so hard, and having glimpsed even just a bit of the behind the scenes. I have some friends that are working behind the scenes, and just seeing just a glimpse of what they do. Yes, very, very great. A lot of great people behind it. Yeah, a lot of great people behind it. A lot of great stuff.
Absolutely. Rachel says it was total chance. I happened upon the one-time story panel after running into Leslie earlier in the day. Okay, so it was chance, but it happened. Matt Palka says there's going to be even more meetups this year in one of the hotels and the new gaming center in the Marriott. Yeah, I'm staying in the Marriott, so
I'm
nervous about that.
I don't know where I'm staying yet. I need to find out what I'm doing with that. I'm going to be coming up a couple days earlier and going to Harry Potter World.
Where's that?
There's one at like the. There's one.
Is that at Universal?
It's like it's right by Universal. Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Oh gosh.
So it's right at Universal Studios. So I'm going to be coming up a couple days early and going to that. My friend Jason was able to get tickets for everyone, so that we're other than the staying a few extra days, we'll be able to get everything involved, get everyone involved, and so that's going to be super cool. I'm super excited for that.
You have a girlfriend now, is that right?
Yes.
And will they be coming with you?
Probably not. It's kind of up in the air. If she does come, it would be more just at the end for like Disneyland. But I don't know if she would be able to come up for the whole thing. But we've talked about it. Tickets are almost sold out. So if she doesn't get a ticket soon, then that probably won't happen.
That answers that question.
So we'll see. We've talked about it, but haven't discussed any concrete plans, anything like that. So,
is she as much into the YouTube community as you are?
Not as much. There are some stuff that she's into, and she lately has been better keeping up on it than I have, because she I work customer service and talking on a phone all day, and she works like an adult job where she can just randomly show YouTube videos to her coworkers. So, so she is a fan of some people. Some stuff I've introduced her to, some stuff she is just a fan. She's huge into Disney, so a lot of Disney things, Disney related channels. I know she really likes. But she's not as into it or the community as I am. But she does watch stuff, and then she also humors me when I'm like, let's watch these 7 videos. Yeah.
That's good. I mean, that's an important kind of support in a relationship for a YouTuber that you need.
So, oh yeah, she's very supportive. I made her see Ant-Man 3 times, and she was okay with it.
Interesting. Yeah. Because you liked it that much?
I did. I loved Ant-Man.
Interesting. I liked it a lot. I liked it more than I thought I would. But like, there was this part of me that was like, I mean, I like Paul Rudd, but why isn't Janet Van Dyne the center of this story, or her daughter, I guess?
That's true, because it is admittedly, I don't know. Admittedly, I have a huge crush on Paul Rudd, but
sure. I think most people do.
Yeah, Scott Lang versus Janet Van Dyne, like she could have easily done those things, and part of it was like, oh, like Hank is afraid, but yeah, there was things that could be improved, and I'm hoping with the next one, because the next one is not even like Ant-Man 2, it's like Ant-Man and the Wasp, so I'm hoping she gets much more. I'm hoping she gets much more of a prevalent role. Kind of bummed she's not going to be in Civil War. But yeah, it is what it is.
The ridiculous thing is that because these movies consists of actors who have to get paid, I understand that they can't be as all-encompassing as a comic book, where you can just be a writer and an artist who decide, I'm going to include these characters. But that is frustrating.
Yeah, I remember, the Civil War comic, which will be very different from the film, I'm assuming, because they haven't established the universe as much as they had done, because they had 50 years of backstory going into the comics. But they had like the big fight scene. There's this huge like 2-page spread, and one page is just everyone on Cap's side, and the other page is everyone on Iron Man's side. And there's just this huge page right before everyone starts punching each other, and there's like dozens and dozens and dozens of characters, and we get like
10.
So I don't know. So
at least we get Spidey.
At least, we're getting Spider-Man
anymore.
We're getting Spider-Man, which is fantastic. I'm excited to see more of some characters we haven't seen as much of recently. Like they introduced Vision and Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron. I'm excited to see more of them because they're great characters that we didn't get as much of in the last movie as I would have liked.
And the interactions between Vision and Scarlet Witch, I grew up knowing their interactions as part of Avengers, and none of that has happened yet.
No, they made eye contact. When they made eye contact, when he pulls her out of the bus, I was just like, there we go.
So I don't want to spoil this for people who are unfamiliar with the comics. So I'm not going to say any more about this, but I'm hoping that something happens in the movies that to reflect what's happened in the comics. Although, a lot of like what happened to Quicksilver in Age of Ultron just doesn't make any sense to me still.
Yeah.
It's just such garbage.
But I don't know, but I'm excited. We're getting Black Panther, which I am so excited about.
T'Challa is the man. I'm so excited to see him.
He is such an incredible character.
I'm hoping that they like really make him a strong character in his own right with his own agency, rather than making him like a concession to black tokenism. That it was kind of his origin in the comics. He was kind of a token character in the comics who developed into a good character. But I'm hoping that they just don't do that at all in the MCU, and they make him legit from the start, because he really should be.
And that's what I'm excited, because he's because you have a character. He's literally like, right. You have, we've had superheroes that are like rich or this is all they do. They work for the government. And then one thing I really liked about Ant-Man was with Scott Lang. He's a father, and there's this level, there's stakes there. Like if he, not only does he have, he has to save the day, but he, at the end, he has a daughter that he has to provide for. Black Panther is king of a planet, not a planet. He's king of a nation. He's not king of a planet. That would be great. No, but he's king of an entire nation. And it is a very complex, very advanced nation. And I'm very excited to see what they do with Wakanda. I am very excited, and hearing Chadwick Boseman, who's going to be playing T'Challa, talk about the character and kind of some of the development they've put into. I'm really excited. I have very high hopes. So I think so there's characters that so I'm really, really excited for Black Panther. I think that's kind of a new corner of Marvel that I think absolutely should be seen in the MCU, and so that will, I'm excited for that. We're about a month off from that movie, and it's gonna be, I don't know. I have high hopes. I hope it's good.
I have very high hopes. I had zero interest in Batman v Superman. Zero interest. I mean, I started off with some interest because I like Superman as a character, like in his other properties. But like every bit of advertising was like, Paul, you will hate this. Paul, you will hate this. Paul, would you like some more toxic masculinity shoved in your face? You will hate this.
And see, that's the thing. I very much wanted that movie to be good. I very much wanted to go in there and walk away saying, yes, like this is the two biggest superheroes of all time, like in a movie together. Like I wanted it to be good. And then I was there opening night, and I was very disappointed. It was, I don't know. And I was hesitant. Like I was hesitant because the director, Zack Snyder, I haven't been the biggest fan of him. And it was written by, I believe, David S. Goyer. Who sometimes is, it was written by David S. Goyer. Sometimes he writes things and I think they're great. And then sometimes he goes on like really long sexist rants. And I'm just so like, Wonder Woman was incredible. I will tell you, I am excited for the Wonder Woman movie because she's not in that movie very much at all. Like pretty much the amount of time you see Wonder Woman in the trailer, she is in the film. Like she is very little screen time, which is very disappointing. But she has she just does an incredible job. Like you want to see more of her.
I got the feeling from the trailers that scene where she appears and Superman says, "Is she with you?" and Batman says, "I thought she was with you." I got the feeling that was the best joke in the movie.
There weren't really any jokes in the movie. That's the thing, is there weren't really. There's that at one point, like a laser gets shot at the Batmobile, and Batman says, "Oh shit!" and that's like the biggest laugh anyone got. Like there's not really any jokes, and parts that could be jokes weren't really played off as jokes.
Ooh.
And that's the thing. So you have you have people that just I don't know. And I know after the Green Lantern movie, DC said they're doing no humor, but you kind of need to have some humor. You can still have a serious.
That's such a bad lesson to learn. Like, just look at your competition, DC. Marvel has jokes in all of their movies that do well.
Yeah.
Like that humor offsets the epic danger. And if you don't have it, too much of one thing.
And that was another thing with Batman versus Superman. I have never seen a movie with that many female characters failed the Bechdel test that badly. I'm just gonna say, because you have Lois Lane, you have Martha Kent, you have there's Senator Finch. Like there's a decent amount of female characters, and they genuinely don't talk to each other. Like the only time you even have like near like the last 5 minutes of the movie, Martha Kent, Superman's mom, says something to Lois Lane. Lois Lane doesn't even really like respond, and like that is the closest you get to a conversation between two women in that film. And that was just strange because there's like a decent amount of female characters in the film, but they just don't talk to each other.
I mean, did The Force Awakens pass the Bechdel test? I feel like Rey spoke to.
I feel like with
this character,
I don't know. I honestly haven't seen it since it came out in theaters. I did pre-order the Blu-ray, so it will be arriving soon. But I feel like the conversation between Rey and Maz Kanata.
Yes, Maz Kanata. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that for sure did.
Okay, good.
Because they're talking about the Force and everything, and not. But I could be wrong, so I don't want to make like any guarantees until I go back and watch that.
Sure. That is, I mean, I feel like that kind of sums up a big problem of DC, is that with their big characters, with their main headlining characters, they're doing nothing but trying to have men write stories for a certain type of male viewer, and that's it. And I'm not that type of male viewer. Most of the people that I know who identify as men are not that type of male viewer. We want more things besides, comparing penis sizes in a movie. That's boring to me.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I don't know, and I'm hoping because I want DC movies to be good. I'm a Marvel fan over DC. I prefer Marvel over DC, but I still love DC. There's a huge, there's so many just great characters in there and great stories to be told, and they've proven that. They've proven that with the comics, and they've proven that. They've made good films. They've made good Batman movies before. They've made terrible Batman movies, but they've made good Batman movies. And it's like they've shown that they can make good films. And so far, with their cinematic universe, the DC extended universe, it hasn't been. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of Man of Steel. I wasn't really a fan of Batman v Superman.
I mean, have they treated women decently in any DC movie? Like even in the Batman movies that were good, the women weren't treated well.
There was a really old Supergirl movie. There's a Supergirl film that came
with
out
Helen Slater.
So it came out in 1984. Helen Slater, Peter O'Toole, and it came out in 1984. It tanked. It had a $35 million budget, brought in less than $15 million, and is currently sitting at a 7% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
I thought it was bad. I would have given it like a 30%, but it's. So the Supergirl TV show, the TV universe is doing pretty well.
I've been impressed, and that's the thing, because I know, and that's the thing why the movie, one of the reasons, because Batman vs Superman wasn't even terrible. I didn't hate it, but there was so much potential. There's so much potential that it could have been so much better, and I was disappointed with that.
Well, here's the thing. I think most viewers who would go to the movie theater to pay a ticket and buy and watch Batman v Superman, who would call themselves any sort of a DC fan, they have probably seen the animated shows.
Mm-hmm.
So that sets a bar that the movies aren't even coming close to in terms of enjoyability.
And that's the thing. The DC, when they had their shared animated universe with, that was a better. And you had shows. You had the Batman and Superman and Justice League and Static Shock and Batman Beyond, and they're all interacting with each other, and they were all doing a really good job. Even before Marvel came along with the MCU, which even then took them a bit to kind of get the hang of it. We've kind of ignored Hulk for the most part, and
I liked Edward Norton's Hulk. I thought it was pretty good.
It was good. It didn't match as much with the tone, and I do like Mark Ruffalo, and I do like also that we are getting General Ross back in Civil War, because we just have not acknowledged really that movie, like a throwaway line in Avengers and like a background gag in Daredevil, and that's like the only acknowledgement we've gotten so far.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we had Hardback Books, please, who I think is Catherine, join us in the chats and say, it's a good live show when you come in and the first thing you hear them talking about is treatment of women in film. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, we need to talk about it. I feel like we need to talk about it a lot more than we do.
Absolutely. She also said,
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say her second comment, which was that DC seems to be better at TV shows rather than movies, and they are far too dependent on Batman. And I think that actually might be the reason why the DC TV universe is so good, is because they weren't allowed to touch Batman.
No,
they weren't allowed to. I'm not talking about Gotham, because Gotham isn't a part of that shared thing at all. But for Flash, Arrow, and now Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow, all those Greg Bernanke TV shows, they were not allowed to touch Batman. And that restriction seemed to have made them awesome.
Oh, and even then the very, very limited access they've had to Superman, I feel like not being able to use those helps. I feel like having not being able to use, because it's in many ways is kind of a crutch. And you see most DC comics, most events will revolve around Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
And which is why you see, I think, some of the best events that DC has done. You have Identity Crisis, which is such a good story. I just reread it a couple days ago. It focused on the elongated man who, nobody really even knew that much about at that point. So it's, I don't know. So it's, so DC, I think their TV shows right now are doing really good, and I hope they continue to do good. And I hope that they start making good movies. I hope Suicide Squad is good. I hope Wonder Woman is good. I have very high hopes for Wonder Woman, just from the 5 minutes of Wonder Woman you see in Batman v Superman. It was the highlight of the film.
I'm hopeful for Wonder Woman as well. I mean, I'm going to see the Wonder Woman movie, even if all the reviews are as bad for it as the Batman vs Superman reviews are, because it is a vehicle starring a woman in the DC universe. It could be it could be as bad as the 1970s Captain America film, and I will still go to see this Wonder Woman movie, because I need to support that shit.
Just because we need it. Yeah, we need things like that. I'm moving over. My laptop battery's running low, so I'm going to get that plugged in. So we need, and then same thing with Wonder Woman, basically everything coming out like that. I think Black Panther, Captain Marvel with Marvel.
I'm so excited for Captain Marvel. I wish that were happening right now.
I know. It's... she'll probably most likely be introduced in Avengers, I'm assuming, in Infinity War, I'm hoping.
I guess.
So we'll get her
it seems like such a waste of the plans that have been laid out so far. With Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they've already introduced the Kree, they've already introduced these powers and abilities. Captain Marvel could be happening right now.
I know. And... Oh, and Agent, oh, and Marvel's TV too is doing really well, and that's the thing that, because like DC's doing really great with TV right now, but like Marvel's doing good with TV and film, and
Well,
I want.
the thing I like about Marvel's TV is that they answer the question that the DC universe doesn't really answer, which is, why aren't you just bringing in your big guns whenever there's a problem? You know, if a
Yep.
Superman type character exists in your universe, or a Flash, or even the Flash, who literally does exist in your universe, if the Flash exists, why don't you just bring them in all the time? Like, they never answer that question, because that's a legitimate question to answer. When Flash and Arrow cross over, Flash's powers allow him to do shit like immediately. It's just done.
Yep.
But on the DC, I mean, on the Marvel TV universe, both Netflix and ABC, they answer the question handily. People don't trust the heroes. They think they've got something to hide. They don't like them having that much power. They don't want to call on those heroes, the Thors and the Iron Mans, because they're loose cannons and have proven it by doing things like dropping cities from the sky. And they mention that like every 4 or 5 episodes.
Oh, well, especially, I don't know, are you caught up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes.
This last episode, I feel like did a really good job to explore it, where you literally, because people are so disillusioned, that there are literally hate groups popping up. There are people like carrying out terrorist attacks because they are so distrusting of superheroes and of power people. There was an episode of the Watchdogs. There was an episode of Jessica Jones. Have you watched Jessica Jones?
Yes.
Okay.
I've watched everything.
Okay. Excellent. There's an episode of Jessica Jones that deals with basically a woman whose mother died in the Battle of New York during that first Avengers film, and the like effect that it has had on her. And it's like just seeing that and seeing how that's explored is it's nice seeing that. And I like that the movies and television are tied together, but I like that they're independent and that you don't have to worry about necessarily everything that's going on. Because that's the thing too, even just watching like Green Arrow and The Flash, I feel like I have to be watching both of them to understand what's going on.
They try to be pretty good about having little exposition moments in the shows when you need them. Like when they're trying to catch up Curtis about what's going on, because Curtis is new in the Arrow universe, everything. They do that, and that's good stuff. I think that the shoot, I was going to say something about the Netflix Marvel thing. What the heck was it? I forget. Never mind. Let's move on.
Okay. Well, Netflix Marvel is great. I haven't finished season 2 of Daredevil yet. I've been a little slow getting on it, but I have seen they did it an after credits tease for Luke Cage, which comes out September. I am incredibly excited for that. Mike Coulter, I think, does a fantastic job. I want to
see the nuance he brings to it, because my vague recollections of the Iron Man and the Power Man and Iron Fist comics from when I was a kid was mostly that like Iron Fist was always trying to be like zen and chill about everything, and Power Man was just all about like punching everything. There was no nuance to the detective agency or the Heroes for Hire agency or whatever it was. They were just like punching people or being chill and punching people. That was it. So I want to see what Mike Coulter can do with his version of that character, of Luke Cage.
Yeah.
In the chat, Alan says Suicide Squad is doing some reshoots to add more humor. I read about that.
God,
something like a couple $1 million to add more humor, which I think is well worth the investment.
I hope that they learn from mistakes, because they have not. I hope that we see that, and that also surprises me, because seeing the trailer for Suicide Squad, I would feel like it was one of the more humorous. I feel like that was one of the more humorous films, from watching the trailer.
With the characters in Suicide Squad and the at least some of the backstory from the comics, you either have to make it funny with characters who are good at that, like the Joker and Harley Quinn and even like Deathstroke. You either have to make it funny, or it's going to be just a torture fest movie. Like,
Yeah,
it's not fun what they do. They're called Suicide Squad for a reason, because it's gonna be awful.
it's
unless
not,
they're funny.
Yeah, and I feel like humor, and especially when you have characters like Harley Quinn. I love Harley Quinn. She's a very good example of using levity to diffuse a very serious situation. And
yeah, I'm fine with the actress. I think the actress is great, but I'm nervous just from her costuming. I'm nervous that they're going to try to go too far into like the dark and sexy comic version of Harley Quinn instead of the fun, brainy psychologist who's twisted version from the animated universe where she came from. Like, that's the Harley I love.
Yeah, and well, especially too because this is our first. This is, which surprises me because she has. This surprises me because like we really. She's been such a popular character since she was first introduced in the animated universe, like over 20 years ago, and she has a. Like an off-screen like voice, like she has one line in an episode of Arrow, like off-screen, and you can't see that it's her. And then there was the Birds of Prey TV series where she was kind of very loosely adapted.
She was in Birds of Prey? I don't remember that at all.
Oh yeah. Wow. She was in Birds of Prey. She was played by Mia Sara.
Okay, I need to go back and watch that on Hulu or something, because I don't remember that at all.
So yeah, so she's played by Mia Sara, who's Sloane in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But she was one of the main characters, but it was very loose adaptation of the character, pretty much by name only. And so this is really the first live action adaptation we've gotten of this character, and I am cautious. I am optimistic, but I am cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping that they make this a good. I just want it to be good, and I want the characters to be good.
The only character that I care about is Harley Quinn, and the only I like the animated version of Harley Quinn. I also like the version of her who is I think in her own like either her own series or her own shared series title, where like she was the one who stopped when Black Canary was trying to fight her because she figured out that Black Canary was pregnant and tried to like help her out of compassion for that situation. I love that. I like the version of Harley Quinn who wants to like just hang out with Poison Ivy and do girl things. Like that is an awesome version of Harley Quinn. The one whose life revolves around Mr. J, and the one who's like who uses her sexuality as a part of her characterism. That's the version I don't care for so much.
So, yeah, and I think the one you're talking about with her fighting Black Canary is from the series Injustice, which is if you've ever played the video game Injustice: Gods Among Us. It basically involves basically Superman goes crazy and creates some this basically totalitarian dictatorship and is ruling the planet, and people are like, we kind of got it.
The one that's where like the Joker tricks him into killing Lois Lane.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Joker tricks him into killing Lois Lane. The comic serves as a prequel, as like a prequel to the game, because the game is kind of weird and there's like time travel involved and whatever. But it serves as like a prequel to the story. It starts out with the Joker tricking Superman into killing Lois Lane, which happens in like the first 3 pages, so that's not really a spoiler. And then he basically takes over the world, and but with that, that is one of my favorite characterizations of Harley Quinn. Is that the series starts out with the Joker dying. And so she is very abruptly forced to
see herself as her own identity and kind of as a character. She has to see herself and what she's like without him, and coming to terms with there's another fight. See, I've seen passed around a lot. In addition to the fight between her and Black Canary, there's also a fight between her and Lobo, where she's fighting Lobo, and she's basically like, I've had a lot to think about, and basically no one ever gets to hit me like that again. And then she kicks his ass.
Oh, I've seen that on Tumblr. Yes, it's
fantastic. And so so Harley Quinn is great, and there's something they've been doing in the comics lately as well, is exploring the kind of the relationship outside of her and the Joker, and letting her set up her own character, which is nice. There still are a lot of the comic series. It's good. There's a lot of queer baiting, and it infuriates me. There's like this constant thing with her and Poison Ivy, and the writers are like, no, she's straight, we promise, they're just best friends. And then
oh, I hate queer baiting. That sucks.
So yeah, so there are some problems, but I do really like in the comics they are kind of setting her up, giving her more chance to explore herself outside of that, outside of the Joker's shadow. And I'm hoping that they do that in the Suicide Squad film as well.
What Alan says in the chat says that what annoys me the most about Suicide Squad so far is how much the Joker has been talked about when I care more about the other characters. Yeah, the Joker's a great character. There's a lot of complexity there, a lot that you can do with it. Heath Ledger did a great job with it. I don't think that we need to explore the Joker very much for a while.
I'm also because one thing, there are so many interesting characters. We're going to see Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, which I'm super excited for. We're getting Deadshot as with Will Smith. We're getting Killer Croc live action, which is such not something I ever thought. That's not a character I ever thought we would get live action, and we're getting it, and I'm so excited.
You think he'll be better than King Shark on The Flash?
I don't know. I was kind of impressed with King Shark, considering the CW's budget.
It was pretty damn good.
That was pretty good. But yeah, with the Joker, and they've been talking about it a lot. Jared Leto kind of went. Everyone's talking about how kind of he just was way in character, and I'm kind of frustrated with that because some people think it's hilarious, and then some people are annoyed and are like, oh, he's method acting, what a douche. But he's talked about he had that character has taken, which is why I'm kind of hesitant, how we keep having different people play him live action. That character takes a toll to play, and Jack Nicholson talked about the toll that playing it took. Mentally it took a very serious toll on him. The role it killed Heath Ledger. And so Jared Leto's talked about basically dissociating with that role, and that essentially there's stuff going on, and he was genuinely having some mental issues from playing that character. It can take a toll on people.
I believe it.
I want to I don't really want to encourage that. And when that's all that's getting talked about with the character, that makes me a little, because you have people that on one hand are like, oh, this is so funny that this was happening. And you have people that are like, oh, what a jerk. But I wish that is something that if we were to talk about it, we would talk about it more seriously. This role legitimately causes a mental distress to the actors that play them. Because we keep doing that, and I keep casting this character, and he's a fantastic character. But yeah, I want to see more characters explored, both because there's characters we haven't been able to see yet, and also because I'm kind of like not super thrilled about what happens to the actors that play that character live action.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Joker's character has always been a means of writers by which writers can do horrible things and get away with it, essentially. The Killing Joke being the prime example. Like, the fact that that exists is something that people refer to as a positive thing, as like as a good story that should be, like, they're doing an animated version of The Killing Joke, I think, and releasing that in the near future. Why? That is horrible. Don't do that. Just because it's, I don't know. I have problems with the way DC writes their villains and negative storylines, and then tries to say that it's somehow meaningful just because it's awful. No, it's not meaningful. It's just awful. Anyway, in the chats, Hardback Books Please says, I love Harley Quinn. She's such a great success story as a female character. I don't know if you've read Amanda Connor's Harley Quinn, but I think it's amazing.
So let me see which, because I am forgetting the writers' names of the arc that I have read the most. But I know I have read some of it because I've read some of each run of Harley Quinn. But
I have read none of them, but I have seen enough on Tumblr to get the gist.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the Amanda Connor. That is the one. I do like it. I am kind of annoyed with the amount of queer baiting in that. I feel like that it does a good job with the character. I like seeing her more out of Joker's shadow. There's some things in there that I think are super interesting, like having Harley as become a landlord of an apartment building is. And like doing roller derby and just things like seeing her explore her character, and I do like that. The constant like her and Poison Ivy like queer baiting, like that kind of bugs me, but the rest of it, but yeah. So I have read the first, I want to say the first like 20 issues of that run. And then not much beyond that. I've been waiting. I typically wait for the trades rather than single issues with DC. There's not a whole lot that I'll like keep up on month to month. So
I made myself in my mid-20s. I was realizing that the amount of my budget that was going to the comics I was trying to keep up with was far more than it should be, and I was having difficulty like buying food. So I made myself stop having a pull list at my comic book store. I made myself stop buying comics on a regular basis. I will occasionally go to my local comic book store and buy like a couple of trades here and there. I try really hard not to. Like, I think when I found out about Miles Morales as Spider-Man, I went and got the trades for his Ultimate Spider-Man series, which are great, which are really good. And it makes me really, really want to see Miles Morales as live action. I was one of those Donald Glover as Spider-Man fanboys as soon as that concept came out, and I was thinking, well, he would be a perfect Miles Morales or Peter Parker, but Miles Morales was on my mind at the time, and I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, and I'm really. I'm excited to see Spider-Man with what they're doing with a younger character, because that's something we haven't really gotten in the films, and I feel like that's something the Ultimate Spider-Man run, but also I think if they lead up to the death of Spider-Man and then introducing Miles Morales, doing that with a younger character is such, it is such a, I think seeing and what happened with the comics introducing Miles Morales is like essentially Peter Parker like sacrifices his life and he's still just a kid at that point, and it's a very emotional, very well-written storyline, and I think served well with the introduction of Miles Morales, and I'm hoping that we get to see that. Hoping that we get to see that in the films.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one of the rare occasions when a canonical arc in a series of films, I guess, a canonical arc with superheroes actually has a death that stays.
Yep.
Because the superhero character would be taken over by Miles Morales instead, so the hero character wouldn't have to be rebooted or revived in some fashion. It's within an established storyline that we've already seen work. It works well in the Ultimate series, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. That'd be very cool too. But I want every character that I grew up with to be different today. Like I don't understand why the Fantastic Four characters that I had in my comic books when I was a kid 3 decades ago should be exactly the same today. It would make no sense. And I'm delighted if you make the characters like different ethnicities, different genders, different sexualities, different origin stories. Do all of that, because it's not the same world as it was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
Yep. Absolutely. Hardback books, please. Also has on here, having problems with single issue comics. Keep to the female comic series mostly, but I try to keep it to trade paperback, and I've been seeing a lot about Miles Morales. Going to look into him. Yeah, definitely understand the single issues. It can be expensive, and then having to wait like a month between stories is terrible.
It is the marathon consumption age.
So there's very few series that I actually keep up on month to month. If you are interested in Miles Morales, Marvel did just release larger collections. You should be able to find it, just like Miles Morales Ultimate Collection, essentially. And let me get an exact title pulled up here. But they released, it's Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man Ultimate Collection. They released basically his entire series in 3 books. So it's big, thicker books. I have them. They're fantastic.
Sorry about dashing away, but I just wanted to get my trade of Ultimate Spider-Man that I'll probably be selling on eBay, honestly. So it's probably going to be going up on eBay in a minute.
So yeah, it's fantastic. Let me see.
It's so good.
We're gonna walk over to my comic book shelf. This is a lot of what I do with my free time. So there's quite a bit of things.
Wow. I am impressed.
But they have, if you're looking, they just put these out, and they have he was in New Ultimates for a while as like part of a team book, so they don't have that. And it doesn't have his new series that's going on now, but they have, that's the third one. Starting with this one, and then there's 2 more, and it collects all. So yeah, he had a ton of different series, and this has all. Trying to think, it's like 50 issues. 50 issues the series was going before it was wrapped into the main Marvel universe where it's going now. Yeah. So if you want to check it out, that's an easy way to get into it. I'd highly recommend it.
So the trade that I have is the first 5 issues of Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, number 1 through 5, where Miles is kind of introduced, plus his first appearance in the Ultimates, and yeah. So I don't even know how much I paid for this. What is this? It's like a $20 trade. I'll probably put it up on eBay for like $5 plus shipping, and I mean I love it. I just want to have as little as possible when I move. Basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Moving with books. That was my big last time I moved, as I just boxes and boxes and boxes of books, and dealing with that was.
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of all my DVDs. I think, except for like a couple that are not available on streaming sites yet. Like, I think that I feel like Dark Angel with Jessica Alba. I've got those on DVD. I don't think they're on a streaming site yet, so I'm gonna keep those probably. But like, I've got the first 4 seasons of Supernatural. Why did I buy them on DVD? They're like everywhere now. I can just turn on a random channel, and they're probably on syndication at the moment. Anyway.
Yeah, I absolutely understand, especially if you're moving across the country. I like having a physical thing. I like being able to hold on to something.
I mean, I'll regrow my library. I'm sure that it will grow again once I'm in California. But just for the move, there are some things where I know that I haven't reread it. I know that I haven't rewatched it in months, if not years. What that tells me is that I can probably give it up for sale and then just buy it again at some point down the road if I want it. Like my Discworld books from Terry Pratchett, I'm keeping those. I'm not giving those up at all. But my Harry Potter books, I've actually got Kindle versions of my Harry Potter books, so I might sell those. But on the other hand, my His Dark Materials, I've got a collector's edition set of that was a present to me. I'm probably going to keep that. It's like I'm weighing everything that I own. Do I want to keep it because it's special? Do I give rid of it because I haven't read it in a couple years? It's a process.
Yeah, absolutely. Harry Potter, what I just picked up, and it's super. They're only putting out one a year, which is frustrating. But they're illustrated editions.
I've heard of those.
So they have the first one out now for Sorcerer's Stone, and Chamber of Secrets will be coming out in October. They're doing one a year. So by the time they finish the series, I'm going to be in my 30s. But oh, and I have it right here. Let's see.
Yeah, I want to see this actually. I haven't seen this.
It is beautiful. Nice printing. The art is amazing. Like yeah, and there's all sorts of things in here.
Hardcover Books Please just says they just released the cover for Chamber of Secrets. I'm so excited.
Did you just release the cover? Oh, I'm gonna look that up right now because last time I looked, they didn't have the cover released.
We should probably wrap up soon because I do need to get back to packing and getting ready for moving. But are there any last things that you want to talk about? You want to talk about the future for you? Any of your projects you want to give us teases about?
The future of me. Well, like if you were here earlier and you're talking, I haven't posted on YouTube for a while because there's just been some stuff going on. I do have some stuff coming up soon, though. I have been going through and just captioning my old videos because it's ridiculous that I didn't do that earlier. And so I'm going through and getting that taken care of, and then I'm going to be working on some more stuff. I don't know quite what I'm doing first. I've been writing a lot. So just some talking videos. I've also been working on some short films. We'll see what's happening. But if you want to keep updated, but there will be stuff coming on YouTube. If you want to keep updated, check out my Twitter. It's at stood2close, and I post about things there when I do them. So that will be, if you want to keep in touch, do that. And
excellent.
There will be
and people can also subscribe to your YouTube channel in advance. Yes. Are you gonna keep on posting on Broganisms?
Yes, it'll be on that same on the Broganisms.
Excellent. Both of those are linked in the doobly-doo, the description for this video, so you can check that out. Okay. Did you ever have like a sign off or a way to end your videos when you were vlogging?
No, not really. I never got super into. I never had that really planned out. It was never very organized. I would essentially talk for a bit and then I'd turn the camera off and then I'd like edit out the bad bits, and that was the extent of it.
I mean, that's the majority of what vloggers do, I think. I would like to thank all the viewers who came in and chatted with us. Lots of chatting today, which was great.
Yes, I super appreciate talking to you guys. Lots of cool things. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me this time, Brogan.
Oh, of course. It has been fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. And I'll just wrap up with my my outro, which is at the end of all of my videos, I tell people that tomorrow will be even better. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you.